From Fathead Studios in Speedway, Indiana, this is The Skinny.
Well, welcome to another edition of The Skinny. I'm Rico Elmore, and the studio's empty, just me and Carl with some alone time here. So we've got a couple of remote and, call-ins today. One being McKenna Haase from Australia, her first venture over to Australia. McKenna, good evening, good night. How's things?
Going pretty good. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and we just wrapped up the first night of the Classic.
Who won tonight?
Scott Boguski. Congrats to him.
This is your first venture over the pond to do the racing, so tell me how it came about.
Well, I had like a fan reach out about a potential opportunity up in more in the northern parts of Australia, and so I reached out to Wade Andrew about it because I just wasn't sure what it all entailed, and so he kind of looked into it, and unfortunately it did not end up working out, but he decided to just kind of put out on Facebook anyway that I was interested in coming over just to see if we could get any hits or anything, and the Thomas family reached out who went on to be my car owners and offered me this opportunity along with Flair Dancewear, my sponsor, and so just a really big blessing because I definitely, after the first deal fell through, I really wasn't expecting much, especially from a Facebook post, but the Thomas family has just been incredible to work with, and I really appreciate them offering me the opportunity.
That's awesome. So it looks like you're in somebody's home. So are you staying with the team owner, with the family?
I am. I'm actually staying with my team owner and his family, so there's 9 of us here. And we're staying down in Warrnambool.
Tony Stewart, Uncle Smoke, your favorite. He was on and Rob Klepper, which is on the show with us. They were talking about when they went to Australia to run, and Tony was explaining how how cool it was and how everybody took care of you, and that's why I asked you where you were staying, because I kind of had a feeling that you were staying with the family because. Rico Abreu was talking about it too, which a lot of people don't know, but he and I are twins. He's 6 minutes older than me, but anyhow, so our parents thought they'd just call us both Rico, so it'd be easier. We'd both come at the same, we'd go at the same time. But anyhow, so, it's pretty interesting. He was talking about how everybody, when you go there, they take care of you like family. They bring you in, you stay at their house. Things like that. And, it's kind of interesting how that works because we had Robin Miller on the other, a couple of shows ago, and Robin was talking about how when, back in the day, that's how it always worked, right? You would come to Indianapolis to run the 500 and you would stay with somebody, and you never had to worry about a place to stay. And, things like that. So it's like Robin said, his house where he lived with Larry Rice, it was like the YMCA for racers. So I think it's great that it still goes on today, in Australia. So what's the weather over there right now? Of course, we know what it is in the Midwest. It's, like 30 degrees and miserable, but that's where we live. So go ahead.
It's honestly freezing cold here. Like, I know it's a bit colder back home, obviously, but like tonight I was wearing like a t-shirt, like a nice jacket, like a cold weather jacket and a winter coat. And I was still like, my nose was running. I was like eating soup like hot soup at the track. So it's been really cold, mostly at night, but even a little bit during the day. And we were in a drought for like a month, and there was obviously the bushfires that were really bad. But then like the past week, it went from that to flash flooding. And so there's been a lot of rain. We rained out the past couple nights, halfway through the night. But so yeah, that's been kind of disappointing because I was really looking forward to really hot weather, which there was one day that was 120 degrees when we were racing. So that was a hot day. But other than that, it's been sometimes warm and muggy during the day, but with the fires, it's definitely been a different summer down here.
Have they got that mostly under control now, or where are they at with that?
It's still spreading. It's kind of confusing, I guess, sometimes as to when they still pop up and stuff, but the rain helped a little bit. But when I first got here, there's like a fire meter by my house that says what level the fires are, and it was pegged at catastrophe for like the first few days I was here, and it was so bad some days that you couldn't go outside. But yeah, it's kind of coming in waves and stuff, but it's really sad, especially for all the animals and stuff. Like I've seen a lot of videos of the koalas and stuff, and their homes are burning down, and so it's really sad.
Speaking of koalas, do you have a koala there with you?
I do.
There you go. Perfect. There's your first stuffed animal of the show. So anyhow, all right. So you said that they had soup at the track. So let's talk about the track food. What kind of track food do they have?
Tonight I had a meat pie at the track, which everybody's been asking me if I've had one since I've been here, and I did take a bite of one on the beach, and I really wasn't a big fan. But tonight at the track, the meat pies were actually pretty good.
Meat pie on the
They also
beach.
have, yeah,
I'm not sure I
they
put that
also
together, but
have
go ahead.
the hot chips and gravy are popular at the track, which is like French fries with gravy. And they're pretty good with, I really like chicken salt here. Everything here is chicken, like chicken flavored chips and French fries and chicken schnitzel and chicken sandwiches and chicken everything.
How much Vegemite have you eaten?
None since I've been here. I've had it in the States, from Aussies that have brought it over, but I think I need to give it another go. I wasn't a huge fan the first time, but I think I should probably give it another try.
I've given it about 5 goes, and they try to compare it to like, oh, this is like our peanut butter and jelly. I'm like, no, it's not. It's far from it. But I've had it several times, and definitely an
Yeah.
acquired taste. That's just not one that I've got. So, but yeah, it's yeah, that's always interesting to see what they have. I mean, like here at the tracks that we go to, you either got a cheeseburger, you've got a hot dog, you maybe have chicken fingers, you've got, fries,
Nachos.
like over nacho, of course, nachos. That's what I was thinking about when you said chips and gravy. I was like, is that like
Yeah.
nachos? So I was like trying to figure that out. But you know, that's funny. Is one track better than the other? Kind of like when you go to Eldora, Tony's track. The food they got great food. You go to Lucas Oil Speedway and Wheatland, they got great food. So is there one better than the other?
I actually think like most of the tracks here have pretty good food. Like a lot of it's not healthy, but like every track here has
So I'd love it.
um
That's what she's getting at. I would
yeah, they
love what
have
they've got
donuts
there.
and they're really good donuts.
Donuts.
Yeah, but so
Okay.
far like all the I've actually liked all the track food, which they don't seem to like it here. Like the people don't seem to like it as much, but I think it's pretty good.
Bring them over. We'll get them a hot dog, a hamburger, and some chicken fingers, and see what they think. So,
Yeah.
so going on, um, a lot of people don't understand, and I'll come back to this in a minute, but with you, but a lot of people don't understand how big a deal it is for sprint car racing, midget racing, things like that, open wheel, dirt racing in Australia / New Zealand. Can you give us a feel? How many people were there tonight?
I want to say I thought they said around like 9,000 people come to the classic. So I mean we have more people at our bigger races, obviously. Quite a bit more people, but it's also like we have a bigger population and stuff, and our tracks are bigger, like they seat more and stuff. And so what's cool about the classic, and some of their other tracks too, like tonight, is everybody sits on the hill. There's not many stands or bleachers or anything like that, and so everybody brings their lawn chairs and just fills the whole hillside, and there's like chairs everywhere, which is really cool. Like it's just kind of a different setting, and um I don't know, just kind of a more like ballpark feel to it, I guess, in a sense. And so yeah, it's really cool, and the people are really nice, and they get really into it, and they're really welcoming to the Americans too, and they're really excited to have us here, which is cool.
It's awesome because like Michael Pickens comes over here. He was just here running the Chili Bowl. he'll come over, he'll run, midget week and a lot of different things. And so, I mean, it is awesome because of the cross back and forth, and them coming here, us going, you guys going there. So it is kind of a cool exchange program, I guess, is the way I would look at it. So next question coming up. So who is McKenna Haase? Where did you come from? What's your goals? What's your interest here?
Well, I'm originally from Des Moines, Iowa, but I moved to Indianapolis in April of last year. And so I started my own race team when I was 13. I didn't come from a racing family, but fell in love with the sport after meeting Casey Kane in a shopping mall and also having some relatives get into micro racing and living close to Knoxville Raceway. I discovered that in 2009 and then started racing there in 2014 actually. And so kind of a quick turnaround, but I started racing sprint cars when I was 17, and that really kind of went from being more of a hobby to a business at that point. And so that's when I got my first corporate sponsors and basically started banging down sponsor doors to fund my racing. So I do about 300 plus attempts at sponsors in an off season, and usually get about 30 awesome partners on board. And then we've been racing mostly Knoxville the past 5 years, but travel as much as we can outside of that with what our budget allows. And so that's kind of what we've been doing. We've had 5 wins at Knoxville in the 305 and 360 class. And so my next goal is to move up to 410s, and I would love to win at Knoxville in a 410 eventually, because only 6 drivers have won in all 3 classes. And so that would be a goal of mine. But I guess ideally, like I would like to run full time with a series like the All Stars or something like that, and just travel more and race more. And living in Indianapolis, I want to race more that direction. And so after racing 410s in Australia, I'm definitely I don't really want to go back to 360s after this. And so that's kind of my racing goals. And then outside of my own racing, I have a development program for little kids, and then also a national program for youth motorsports. Youth Racers of America is a 501c3, and it was designed to provide camps, clinics, safety gear, and educational resources for youth race car drivers nationally. And so it's actually officially launching in 2020, and it was founded in early 2019. And so our goal is to host a national camp for youth racers in December of 2020 in Indianapolis for 300 to 500 youth race car drivers. And we want to have all the professional drivers there from all disciplines of motorsports to basically spend an entire day coaching and training these young drivers to kind of create a segue between young up and coming drivers and the drivers that are doing this for a living. And so that's one of our platforms. And we also want to provide safety gear for them. And we also want to have outreach to general society to bring more people into the sport and to educate people on what youth motorsports is. And then also our last pillar is to kind of create connections between teenage race car drivers and job opportunities in motorsports if they're not going to go on to be a professional race car driver. And so that's kind of what we have going on there.
One of the things that in racing is there's a lot of people that don't have the money to be involved. So I'm assuming that you're looking for donations or people to help that along with, giving maybe somebody that deserves the opportunity from a talent, super talented or point to have an opportunity to be involved in something so cool.
Yes. So as of right now, we are estimating that the cost for a child to attend our camp will be about $300. And our goal is to make sure that every single kid leaves with a piece of safety gear in their hand, which would be included in that cost of the camp. And so,
when you say
so they do
safety
get
gear, when you say safety gear, what kind of safety gear are you talking about?
So they would get to pick between helmet, fire suit, gloves, or shoes is what we're looking at doing currently.
What's the curriculum and who's going to be there helping?
Right now it's set at 6 to 13-year-old kids. They do have to be participating in youth motorsports. And one of our goals is to so the donations that we're looking for is to cover the cost for kids to attend camp. So basically, if you're in racing, you're a racing manufacturer organization, you can sponsor a kid to come to camp and cover their camp fee. And our goal with that is to provide kids who are in racing but are kind of lower to middle income budget racers this opportunity to go, so that all kids can have a chance to interact with these professional drivers. And we hope to have NASCAR drivers, IndyCar, World of Outlaws, USAC, etc. there. And so basically anything that's a racing vehicle, so it's not motocross or anything like that, but four wheels basically. And the camp will consist of a full day clinic on driving, safety, character, and business and marketing. So they'll learn about like sponsorship and being a good sport, and just proper safety gear and how to put it on, and then also what to expect from a safety crew when they crash, what questions they might ask, and then obviously driving and lots of games. And basically we just want them to have a bunch of fun and just get to interact with these drivers in a more intimate setting.
When I met you, I was very impressed right out of the gate. One, a heart of, the heart of gold, and is probably the best way I could describe it. And what you try to give back is far more than you take, which is an unbelievable trait. Not many have. And the special that they ran, was it on NBC Sports that they did the deal on you?
Fox Sports one.
Fox Sports. I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
Fox. Jeez. Anyhow, Fox Sports, but it was great. It highlighted what you do. These are, the one kid, his dad, I think, had some issues with substance abuse and really didn't have an opportunity. And here you are. I don't know if you were a little over 18, not much more, but here you are. You pull this kid in and you get him going. I mean, it's a car that you put together. It's money you raised. I mean, this kid showed up to the track. I mean, it's every kid's dream, right? So when I started racing go-karts when I was a kid. Didn't have any money. Sure didn't have any. Did not have any support from my mom or dad. They were like, "You're going to kill yourself. This is a horrible idea." And so I was about 10 pounds lighter then, but it was a good time. And but I get it. I get it, because there was nobody there that there was nobody there where you could look and say, "Hey, where's a good support group? I want to do this." And and sometimes it's about managing expectations. You're trying to get somebody to manage their expectation of what they can really do. Hey, I want to go race this tomorrow. Well, you know what? You got a long way to go. We're not there yet. So, I think what your deal there and showing kind of the path to, to stardom, and success and things like that. That's a lot of what it is, because there's some that are in racing, and I mean, we've all seen it. I've been involved in it for a long time. That their biggest fan is them. So have a little humility, and I always go back to Tony. And Stuart. He's probably one of the most humble guys you ever meet, but he's one of the most fierce competitors that you don't want to get involved with, because he will take it to you, and but there's a balance there. So you still got to be a good person along with a fierce competitor, and I see a lot of that in you. And I think that's awesome. So you've done great, and I only see you going further and further ahead. So I hope. Do you have a 410 yet? Have you got one?
Oh, first off, thank you very much for that. And second, I do have a 410. I was able to find one for a pretty good deal at the end of last year. So I got that. And I was able to purchase a little bit bigger trailer. So, because mine was kind of too small to take very far. So I got that. But I don't know if we're still fully set up to kind of do the exact races that I want to do and the schedule I would like to do, but we're taking steps in the right direction, and definitely hope to keep growing our program and just try to keep expanding it eastward a little bit with, you know, our partners and everything like that. So we'll see what happens. But moving to Indianapolis has been a big help, and just being able to make connections and be just more exposed in the racing industry has been pretty awesome. So I'm really excited for 2020. I have a pretty good feeling about it, and I feel like Australia's been just a really good kickoff for that. I can't imagine going into this year not knowing, you know, what the 410 would even feel like or what that adjustment might look like for us. And so this has just been awesome to kind of already get, you know, some races under my belt, so I know what to expect before we come back to the States.
So give us some highlights from over there for you.
For me, just finishing was a big deal. And especially when I'm running for a new car owner, like I have a lot of respect for equipment just because I pay for my equipment, or my sponsors, you know, do, but I have to go out and seek the sponsors and manage that. And so for me, yeah, just to be able to finish and move forward and learn and just get the laps is a big deal. When, you know, when you haven't driven 410 before, it's much better to get every single lap in so you can learn, rather than, you know, doing something stupid right out of the gate and not being able to race.
Have you been wearing your Fat Heads hoodie?
Not out here. I don't have it because everybody told me it was going to be warm, and it's not warm. But I do wear it all the time back home in the States. It's one of my favorites.
Wow, we thought we had international presence with you over there.
I should have brought some Fat Heads sunglasses because mine ended up in the ocean.
We make them extra heavy so they won't float. So, but all right, so we're gonna shift gears, and we gotta get your 3 best non-related stories.
Non-racing related stories?
Non-racing related stories. Something somebody doesn't know about you to let them know who McKenna Haase is.
A really good question. Okay, so I guess, yeah, American Ninja Warrior has just been an incredible journey.
When you told me you were going to do that sometime back, I was like, you're going to do what? So I think that's awesome just to even make it to be on the show. Let alone, I don't care how far you went on the first obstacle, you know, but it's really cool to get on there. So what's another good one?
I guess the first thing that comes to mind is thinking back to my childhood. I was in the business from the time I could talk. Like I just loved business and just the art of growing money, earning money and watching it grow, and was just really cool to me. I actually kind of designed a supply and demand theory when I was in my car seat in the back of my mom's car before knowing that kind of thing already existed. And so, yeah, it was just something I was always passionate about. I would sell things door to door when I was a kid, dog treats and fruit and all sorts of stuff. And I started, my sister was a softball player, so I would sell hand sanitizer for $0.25 a squirt outside of porta potties at her softball games and make $70 a day doing that. And it was such a successful business that
I love it.
I got shut down by the sports complex because we were making so much money. And so,
oh my, you got to be kidding me. Wow.
Yeah, it was hilarious because I would hire kids to go to other locations because they would have multiple porta potties locations at these complexes. So I'd hire kids and then they would bring me the money back. So I had this, like, it was $0.25 a squirt. So I had this mountain of quarters and I was sitting there counting it. And the owner walked up to me and he said, "Are you the kid in charge of the hand sanitizer business?" And I was like, "No," but I had like this mountain of quarters sitting next to me. So he shut me down. But yeah, I ended up taking all that money.
He said, "No, I'm the accountant." But go ahead.
Yeah. And so I took all that money, and all the money I took selling door to door, and I got into the stock market and started investing. And I got into it in 3rd grade, but I didn't actually create my first portfolio, my real portfolio, until I was 15. I had a fake $1 million portfolio before that. But so yeah, that kind of started the investing thing, and fell in love with Warren Buffett when I was 15, and just idolized him, and went to college for that as a finance major in investment analysis. And so yeah.
I knew a lot of that, but the hand sanitizer thing, that absolutely takes the cake. I'm telling you right now, that is the best. We get a lot of stories, but so it's funny that she's talking about that, because I was much of the same. I didn't do all the stock market stuff. She's way smarter than I am about all that. But the funny thing is my brother, so he had to be, so he was 2 grades ahead of me, but we're only like 18 months apart. My youngest brother, or the one right above me, I should say. So he and I, he was the smart one. So he would put me up to doing everything, right? So he didn't want to sell the stuff that he needed for, he was in band, but he was also he was an unbelievable football player, so he and I lifted weights, I wrestled and played football, and he lifted weights, played football, and was in band. So anyhow, so we were always together. Well, he's like, I got to sell all these M&Ms, because I have to raise so much money. We're going somewhere for band or something, and I'm like, he's like, will you do it for me? And I'm like, sure, I'll do it. Little brother program. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. So I take all the M&Ms and I sell them. I mean, like, lay it out, because I'm not paying attention to school. I'm selling M&Ms. I don't care about the school part. I'm doing M&Ms. So that was over, and then I would go to Sam's Club and I would buy cases of M&Ms, like the big boxes like you'd put out at a store. And I was still selling M&Ms. And my cost was about a quarter a bag, and I was selling them for, I think 50 cents. So I'm making a quarter every bag. Well, after about 2 months of that, because everybody knew, like, I had a bag I carried over my shoulder, it was full of candy. After about 2 months of that, one of my teachers said, "Yeah, the sales program's over. You're not. We know that the band isn't selling M&Ms anymore. That was over 2 months ago." Because, of course, if I was confronted, I would say, "Oh, I'm selling them for the band," and
Oh
so.
no.
So, needless to say, I get you. I get the dream crushers that come in and say, "Yeah, you're not doing that anymore." So, but all right, one more. What's your thoughts?
When I was in third grade, I started writing books for creating stories and typing them for blind children in my school, so that they could read these stories that I wrote and stuff. And so yeah, I was very fluent in Braille when I was in elementary school, and then I'm a second degree black belt in Taekwondo, and so I learned Korean through Taekwondo, and taught myself how to write in Korean and stuff like that. And back then, I was like, it's kind of one of those things where everybody's like, well, when are you ever going to use that, And all these years later, you wouldn't believe the amount of Korean fans I've had come through my autograph line, just randomly, like foreign exchange students and stuff. And I've been able to autograph it in Korean and speak to them a bit. And it's like, they think it's the coolest thing. And so just kind of funny how that stuff has come full circle. But
What in God's name are you doing in racing?
I like to say I don't know where it comes from, but I feel like I do know, because I feel like that's my purpose in life and what God's plan was for my life. And that's just, it's so deep. And I feel like that's something that I don't get to talk about a lot, is how deeply rooted my passion is as a race car driver. I was just telling somebody the other day how when my mom used to drive me around, uh, before I had like my license, and I would just envision races in my head, and I would just get so lost in thought driving down the road. And one day we were driving down the road, and she kind of looks over at me and she was like, are you dancing? And I was like, huh? She's like, are you dancing? And I was like, no, why? Because I don't dance at all. And she's like, well, because you're doing this. And I was like, and in my head I was envisioning a race where the car was loaded up with fuel. And so I was like, it was jerking because it was loaded up with fuel. I was so in depth in this racing vision that I was actually moving without knowing it. And so it's always been that way. Racing's at the heart and soul of all of it, and I think it always will be.
You are a special individual. You're a good friend, somebody that I think a lot of, and it means a lot for you to take time at, well, now it's probably like 2 o'clock in the morning there, to spend some time with us and catch up on the skinny.
I'm super grateful to have met you and my journey to Indy, and I appreciate you having me on the show. It's a lot of fun.
Till next time, McKenna Haase, everybody. See ya.
Thanks for watching this episode of The Skinny. Be sure to check out all the latest sun and optical eyewear at fatheads.com. Special thanks to our sponsorship partners at Elliott's Custom Trailers and Carts. This has been a production of Fathead Studios. Please remember to subscribe.